Welcome everybody to PATCHCAST. In this video, we're going to be ranking all of mid lane champions in patch 2606. We're joined here with AJ, Challenger NA, and I'm representing EU West. And Riot has not shipped that many changes in this patch due to the fact that First Stand is starting next week. So they want a bit of a slower patch, and they're buffing up some champions that they quite reasonably nerfed in the previous patch, Azir. So let's jump off straight with him, right? Because last patch we got him fully up in the D tier, dogshit tier, which was well deserved because the nerfs were pretty big. Now they are buffing him up quite heavily. 20% AP ratio on Q and W damage going up ever so slightly. You're the Azir guy, AJ. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think Ryze's listening to us. That's what I think, because I swear last patch you asked me what they should buff on his kit, and I think I did say Q AP ratio.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't remember either. There was something about his Q, but yeah. So let's break it down. Let's start with the bigger change, which is the W, right? So it's kind of hard to read in this format, but yeah, basically he's getting AP ratio increase and base damage per level, so scales harder with levels now. So this is really good. This is an extremely good buff for Azir. I mean, in pro play, but even in solo queue as well, because this means that, you know, your Shadow Flame builds are going to do more damage, your Landry's builds are going to do more damage. Basically, your entire any build you do is going to do significantly more damage, right? This is basically like your auto attack. Like imagine you play a Caitlyn and your auto attacks get buffed, right? So this buffs damage greatly. The Q AP ratio, as well as actually also a decent buff, because again, you buy a lot of AP on Azir, right? People like to go Shadow Flame, Rabadon's, right? Usually is your second and third item. Zhonya's is high AP with low haste. So AP ratio buffs improves his damage massively. Now, obviously he's like one of the worst win rate mid laners on the patch. That's why we had him in D tier last patch. Yeah. But I think in solo queue, because of how long the games take to end, I think this is actually quite a significant buff. I think this is going to improve his output a ton, like a lot. Like his side lane is going to be better, team fighting is going to be better, everything's going to be better. Damage
buffs on us here always like hit kind of hard in a way. They've just been lost with this year, man. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
they're absolutely lost with this year.
Yeah.
Over the past few patches, I think the past half year, we've been doing these tier lists, and every single time as he's going up, he's going down, then he's up in the heavens, back in the trenches. He's just completely all over the place. So what are your predictions, right? Where are we going with this year right now?
Yeah, so I think basically the trajectory we had with him is I think when he was really strong at the start of the season, we had him B tier. Then he got gutted, and now we put him to D tier. I am liking B tier again. I think he could I'm definitely playing him. Yeah.
Oh, damn, really?
Those buffs are nuts.
Shit.
Because you got to remember, so something important about buffing champs is how easy is it for them to get their damage off, right? So let's take what's a spell that's really hard to hit. Let's take, like, I don't know, Hui's QW, right? Hui's QW is not super easy to land consistently as they're stunned. So getting a buff on that is a little bit more niche than like Azir's fucking Q AP ratio, right? You're spamming that always in mid game, right? Your wave clear goes up, right? Your poke goes up. Your damage in a fight goes up. Same with your W. Your W is your main ability. So your wave clear goes up, which means your CS per minute goes up. Your resets are faster. You're on the map faster. You're out of play faster, and you do more damage, right? And you have more items because damage buffs everything else about your kit, right? So on a champ that has like a snowballing nature in that regard, I think this is just ridiculous. I think these buffs are too much, honestly.
Okay.
High level play.
All right, so you're confident too.
I'm confident. Yeah. I'm very confident. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very interesting.
Very good luck.
I'd love to like play a devil's advocate or propose arguments against it, but I just personally don't have the experience. So as a coach, I'd love to like say something against it, but I don't have the experience. I don't see Azir at all in my solo queue games, so I have to fully rely on you here.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to put him in B tier. And boys, in the comments, if AJ is wrong, grill him. Bro. If he's right, praise him. All right. Great stuff. So you said Riot's listening. I swear Riot's listening, because last patch we moved Lissandra from the C tier to the D tier, dogshit tier.
Yeah, I remember that.
And instantly Riot's like, hey, let's get Lissandra out of this picture here. Let's get Lissandra out of D tier. So they gave us some buffs, specifically Q cooldown going down with 1 second at each rank, which is nice. But armor growth going down by 0.7 at each level as well. So that's a pretty big nerf. And I don't want to understate this because they did a very similar thing with Syndra last year, where they buffed the E cooldown, where the E cooldown was lower by 2 seconds. And they nuked her armor growth as well. Very similar. What happened to Syndra? She was exactly the same champ in the average play, but on high elo she got better because the better players were able to play around it a lot more efficiently. I have the feeling we're going to see a somewhat similar trend. She's going to be slightly better in higher level play, especially because of the fact that she's going to be versing up against a lot of mages, which she struggles into. And the champs that she was already doing well into, which is mostly AD assassins, champs that are melee, getting close towards her. This is a bit of a counter nerf for that. I think this might also prevent Lissandra from going top lane. I don't know what their exact planning with this is. But overall, I think that it's a step in the right direction, because this is going to allow her to play the offense as defense strategy a whole lot easier. And that is her way of dealing with tough matchups, playing fast on the wave, and resetting a lot. What do you think about this change here, AJ?
Is this not just ridiculous buffs? I mean, if you look at her Q at max rank, right? It's 1 second, but let's not look at it as 1 second. What's the percentage buff? From 4 to 3 is a 25% buff. Imagine any other champion's main ability getting buffed by 25%, right? That's ridiculous. Like, your wave clear becomes way faster, right? You're basically clearing the wave 1 second faster, right? It takes 2 Qs to clear the wave. I'm pretty sure it takes 2 Qs to nuke the entire wave down. Your team fight DPS goes up 25% if you have to play front to back. Obviously, Lissandra's a diver, right? So you're not always playing front to back. But if you have to, that's 25% more damage, right?
How does that work with haste?
Yeah, it's still going to be the same, right? It's still a 25% increase regardless, right? So, or like, imagine a world where you can get an extra Q off in a fight with your CC, right? You're doing like 300 more damage, 400 more damage, AoE damage. Like, I don't know, this seems like an absolute ridiculous buff. Now, sure, armor growth nerf is actually also a really big like nerf, because it makes your champ super squishy because you're a champion that doesn't really build armor. But anyways, Lissandra likes Zonias, right? So you can always opt in the Zonia second, especially because your Q is so short cooldown now. You can go Proto Belt. I know back in the day people would go Proto Belt on her. So yeah, I think this is a ridiculous buff. I actually think this is insane, to be honest.
Okay.
This might make me want to try her. That's how good the buffs are.
What I'm wondering, because I used to play a bit of Lissandra when I was playing competitive. That's when Lissandra Ahri meta was there with MSI, when Chovy caps were like, when Chovy gapped caps so hard that caps couldn't even walk after the game anymore, man. that was the meta I played Lissandra. I was forced to play Lissandra for my team. And what I always remembered when in those situations is that Lissandra had super interesting kill ranges, because she would combo with her W. She would like Q someone slow, and then you use your E with your W, and then you can Q them again, and then you can ult, and then you can Q them again. Yeah, right. That would be like the idea. But back then we had Everfrost as well, so you could like CC chain someone like forever. What I'm curious of right now is how the combo changes with this shorter cooldown. Can you now maybe get an extra Q in, or is your abilities are going to be smoother? Because if that's the case, that will really buff her. Like if her combos are all in combos is now more smooth, I think that's a great buff. So
yeah, because
go ahead.
Yeah, like the other thing I was thinking is that with the Q being dash for CD, when you play against a longer range champ and you're like level 7 or level 9, you could maybe just tank that, like force an extended trade, right? You just walk past the wave, even though you're shorter range, like a Ryze would, right? Imagine how Ryze trades against longer range champs. You tank some damage, get in range, and you extend the trade. I can see that with Lissandra being a possibility, right?
Yeah. So the big question is where's she gonna end up, right? Is this gonna be D2B or is it D to low A? What's it gonna be?
I don't know if I feel comfortable with her. Do I feel comfortable with her at A? I'm looking at all these other champs at A. Which one does she struggle with? Syndra, I guess?
I played this matchup twice, actually.
Doesn't even sound that terrible, to be honest.
No, it's pretty bad for Lissandra, but she has tools against. She can play, actually.
Yeah, especially season 16 resets. With
offense, defense, dude. Offense, defense.
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty excited about this change, honestly. This is pretty ridiculous. Like, imagine like what's another mediocre champ on this list? Imagine Zig's Q got reduced by 25%, or like, well, what's another mediocre champ here? Like Jace's Q got improved by 25%.
Fucking ridiculous.
Like, yeah.
Okay, let's put a low A. We're gonna be guys. Expect low A, high B is where we think she ends up. If we're wrong, we'll correct it next tier list. Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Ahri. Like we said, Ahri was the standout champion, dominating the mid lane meta. The moment we saw our W buffs, this wasn't the case. And I want to make a little bit of a point, because now that we know that Riot's listening, Riot, I want you guys to listen up well here, okay? I want to talk about the state of mid lane, because you guys have been fucking us over, and it's been pissing me off, all right? You've been nerfing Syndra, you've been nerfing Orianna, you've been nerfing Talia, you've been nerfing fucking everything. Ryze, what are we nerfing again? Did I already talk about Ori? I think I already talked about Ori. Now we buffed up Ahri, now we're nerfing Ahri again. What about top lane and the quest? I have been feeling my power in mid lane slowly really drain, and I'm a little bit sad about it, because I had the feeling that end of last season, mid lane was incredibly strong. In isolation, we would be able to 1v1 top laners. Now, this season, big bummer. You know, we weren't not able to do that anymore in the side lane. No problem. We adapted, because we mid laners are flexible people. All right, we can get through it. But now I'm starting to see some issues where I don't even feel like I do any damage anymore. And the enemy mid laner is also not dealing that much damage. We're losing impact. So I think we mid laners need to stand together. Riot versus Riot Games. There's a big problem going on. We're only nerfing mid laners instead of buffing them. If you think new mid laners need a bit of love, don't nerf other mid laners, buff them up. Thank you, Riot. Thank you for listening. Regardless, Ahri nerfs. You've seen the Ahri nerfs?
I have seen the Ahri.
Okay, yeah. So TLDR for the people. All right, Ahri got buffed on her WCD 2 patches ago, which was crazy. A full second, like we talked about. It does a lot to a champion. And now they're specifically hitting her Q damage per hit. So this is basically 10 damage in total. 1 on the first cast and on the return, both 5. Now, this in and of itself isn't particularly large if you just look at the numbers. Of course, every bit of number matters, but what the real big difference maker is going to be is the wave clear, okay? Yep. And what I read is, because I read Peng, one of the best Ahris in the world. I read him doing a little bit of, he gave some explanation on the wave clear breakpoints. And the big one that I care about is the level 3, 2 points Q, right? Is that going to still be wave clearable with 2 Qs? It is. Okay. So until I think wave 7, you can do that without any type of AP. So if you still want to reset on wave 5, which is a great wave to reset on Ahri, absolutely you're able to do that with offensive defense in the early game. The only thing that you got to be mindful of is that you can't keep that going without buying AP. So a lot of times what a lot of Ahri players would do is they would do refill mana crystal boots on a 750 reset. Unfortunately, that's not going to be that strong anymore, because your Q doesn't two-shot the waves, the casters anymore. So we might want to now transition towards Boots Darkseal. But Boots Darkseal sucks, because then we need 1200 for the next Lost Chapter. So maybe we do Mana Crystal Darkseal refill. So maybe you just need to farm better, and you need to just shift up your strategy a little bit. So Ahri definitely gets hit a little bit. There's also some changes to the level 7 wave clear breakpoint, where it's a lot harder to hit that with AP. Initially, you could do it with Darkseal, Amtome, and Lost Chapter at the early stages of the level 7, level 8. And then at level 9, it's still one-shots, of course. So it affects her wave clear breakpoints a little bit, and therefore it will hit her, especially on Ahri players that are not heavily aware for it. I think this is especially going to target the medium level Ahri players. The Ahri players that have no clue won't get affected by it, because they don't know anyway. The medium level Ahri players that try but can't get it consistent enough is what's going to be affected. Yeah. Now, I've been yapping away too much. Ahri was the best champ on the patch. What does this make her?
Yeah, it's fascinating, because I think even before these changes, my opinion of Ahri was changing a little bit, because what would happen is I'd pick Ahri, and then a pro player would pick Ryze against me, and that felt completely unplayable every time. Now, obviously, things you can do as Ahri, right? But Ryze outscales you in the side and just beats you even in lane, keeps prio. So I was already shifting a little bit away from Ahri being like so many leagues above every other champ. And I think with these changes, I think just again, you're a champ that doesn't build a lot of AP. So yeah, 10 damage isn't like the most, but that's you're a champ that's a threshold champ, right? You either kill them in your rotation or you don't, right? To get your reset. So I think, you talked about the wave stuff. I'm thinking as well more about like how does the fight break out? Like, and like losing 10 damage, that might be a difference between you getting that health from your passive and an R reset. And then you might die, right? So I think that she's still gonna be really good, just not leagues better than every other champ. So I think we can still leave her in S plus, just at the bottom, kind of where Ryze is and Akshan is. I think Aurora, I think I'm a little bit happier with Aurora overall compared to Ahri right now, personally, but that's how I feel.
Okay, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the S plus at the end, because Akali as the best champ on the patch is, of course, something that we need to consider.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the big changes. We want to also now apply these changes a little bit in the lower elo tier list, if they have any effect. Does this change anything for Ahri? Like I said, for medium level Ahri players, I think it might be a bit of a difference maker. This is a tier list for Emerald and below guys. So this is the exact range where the Ahri players will get a little bit of hit. Yeah. So is she going to go from S plus to S tier? What do you think?
I think if you're Emerald, I think she could still be S plus. But as you get lower and lower, her effectiveness goes down. So if we're going to average it out, I would say S or high A. Yeah. Like medium of S or A, somewhere in that range.
Great. Now, Azir will still be in the don't play category. Yep. Don't touch Azir if you're Emerald and below, guys. It's not really worth it. Lissandra, on the other hand, definitely deserves a bump up into the A tier, especially in lower ranked games. This champion is damn effective because she can just point and click people, and especially if you can master your WQ or RQ combination, Lissandra will just be a lot more effective. So yeah, Lissandra definitely deserves a bump up into A tier now, guys. Much better champ. Okay, going back to the high elo tier list here, we have a lot of questions in the comments and a lot of interesting ones. We see them all down here on the bottom, and we're just going to have a crack at them one by one. Zilean mid. Have you seen any Zilean mid?
Not in a while, and the ones I see are like OTPs usually, so a lot of what I'm going to talk about is just conjecture rather than like actually seeing it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the thing is with Zilean is he has an extremely weak lane, like very weak lane, but he has insane utility.
Insane.
Right? So he's great when you have a champion. He's a good counter pick for the game rather than the matchup, right? It's like if you have a Kindred, I think Zilean is really OP. If you have a Jinx, Zilean is really OP. If you have a Thanos top lane champ, Zilean's OP. But like his actual skill set as a mid lane champion is terrible, like D tier. Yeah. So that's how I think of him.
Yeah, Zilean is as good as your teammates are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same as Karma. It's not a champ we recommend to play. Doesn't teach the mid lane fundament as well. He can be good. Okay. Don't count him out. If you versus Zilean and you got the wrong draft, you'll lose. If you versus Zilean and you're playing Zinra and he doesn't have any good carries to play with, you're gonna win. Okay. Yeah. And I think, therefore, look, if we would rate him, he's going to be a C tier inhabitant because of a counter pick, not necessarily because of the lane, but rather more about the game state. But of course, I don't see Zilean as a true mid laner. I'm going to put him back down there. Now, the changes of Galio, because this was a question from a viewer that was wondering, why was Galio S plus all the end of last year? And why did he suddenly drop into the lower tiers? Well, because we put him in A tier previously. What is the reasoning behind that?
So I think first things first is he did get nerfed, right? I think at the end of season 15, or sorry, season at some point he got nerfed. I think he's like Q cooldown or mana or something, or passive got reduced somewhere to like make you want to build AP.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Like he did get actually nerfed. That wasn't a massive nerf, but I think throughout the board he got nerfed a little bit, right? Yes. 2025 he got nerfed by a little bit, and then he got nerfed again by a little bit. So like these nerfs definitely hurt like a little bit with his wave clear. But I think the bigger problem is like Galio is a champ that revolves around what are the other champs in the game, right? That are good, right? So for example, again, if we kind of think of Ryze, right? You are not going to have fun playing Galio into Ryze, right? And Ryze
Horrible.
crept up like crazy,
Horrible.
right? Ryze got a lot of buffs. At the end of season 15, he got going up and up and up, going into Worlds. Then season 16, he just gets Actualizer for some reason. So he got buffs like crazy. Season 16 changes, buffed Ryze like crazy. That hurts Galio, right? Champs like Ahri came back in the meta as well, which again hurts Galio. The Assassins got better, and Ignite got better, which hurts Galio, right? Like Kiana with Ignite and Electrocute, good like playing Galio into that, right? And so again, Galio's a champ that's just really dependent on everything else around him, right? If you look at him in a vacuum, he's a pretty okay champ. But I think his kit is extremely good at either facilitating good champions on your team or blocking off problematic champs in the meta, right?
Yeah.
So that's my take, and that's why he got reduced, because champs like Ryze existed, champs like Orianna existed, champs like Syndra existed, Kiana existed, and he just struggles, or especially early on into the game against these champions.
Yeah, he did get hit a little bit, and I want to just put a little story. I think I was playing a game of Akali, and usually when I play Akali, I ban Galio because the matchup is just not fun. He can just buy a Mars, stat check you, and in team fights he presses W, your W doesn't work. It's a very problematic matchup for Akali. Now this time, I don't know what I was doing, but I thought I was like out of the top, so I banned Ambessa because I can't stand playing against Ambessa versus top lane mains. And what happened is my mid lane actually swapped. And they like blue one Yasuo, and I was like, great, Yasuo, man, I'm counterpicking that guy with Akali. Guess what? Was Yasuo bot lane, and they picked Galio into me. Most miserable game I've had in a while, dude. I just could not play the game. So Galio is a champion that is just incredibly effective in some situations, but also just not that good in others. I'm always really happy playing Ryze into Galio because you just get perma-pry, you stat check the fuck out of him, and you're just doing stuff faster than he does. Syndra as well. You can play Ahri, you can play Victor is playable into Galio. Everything is you got like tools against it. So he's still really good, guys. That's why he's in the A tier. Don't be shy. Don't be miscounting A tier. A tier is good champs. Talked about Lissandra, good champ. Syndra, good champ. All these champs are good. So yeah, but that's why he dropped a little bit as well. Now, oh yeah, what do you want to say?
Oh, I was just, the last thing I was going to add about Galio is I think the season 16 changes are kind of just whatever for him as well. Like, you would think it would be good, but he had so much wave clear. He's already doing that in season 15. So now the fact that other champions can rival that push and reset style kind of also hurts him a little bit. So that was just the last thing I was going to add there.
Okay, great. So we have Malz. All right, this is a little bit less of a tier list question, but more about this guy is a Malz player, okay? Newer Malz player that is looking to transition away from Malzahar into the likes of Veigar. So Malzahar, as we discussed, especially in lower elo tier list, he's a training wheels champion. He's great for learning the game, but he skips some fundamentals. And eventually you gotta say goodbye to your old friend Malz, and you gotta step into new directions, new territories, new waters, and explore the game through a slightly more difficult lens. And the champion that we recommend to do it on is Veigar. Because Veigar has a very similar game plan as to Malzahar. Also wants to skill up, not really interact with the lane. The only difference between Veigar and Malzahar is how they interact with the wave states. Because Veigar actually needs to manage the wave properly, while Malzahar just clears it without thinking, right? So if you're a Malzahar player and you're now reaching bronze 1 to silver, and you're like, okay, I know Malzahar is suiting me well right now. I'm winning some games on the big M. But I need to eventually learn the game because that's what I want. Veigar is your champion. How do you specifically do that? You're going to play with the exact same mindset in the first few levels. But what the key thing is that you're going to need to focus on is your wave management. Because this is going to be the main factor that's going to allow you to play out that same game plan as Malzahar is doing, properly or not. I've been recently playing a little bit of Veigar. And I actually think that Veigar is also a champion that I want to touch upon a little bit. Veigar, we put him in B tier here. I think he's a little bit better than B tier. I think with all of these nerfs coming up, by the way, I think champs like Veigar rise because of that. Because Veigar loves when stuff gets nerfed because he's a little bit of a stat checky mage, right?
Yeah.
If he can get through lane, he can get through lane. So I've been having a feeling that this champion is actually an A tier champion right now. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's fascinating because I was actually going to add on. I played Veigar a little bit last season, and I actually thought he was quite good in the right game, right?
Yeah.
Like if you go the movement speed build, like either Shirelia's or Storm Surge or Cosmic, and you buy Swifties, or
You do love your Storm Surge.
I love Storm Surge. This item is insane, man. If you rush it. But yeah, like what I was doing is I was going Swifties, Storm Surge, and I started in a tier on Veigar. That's what I did, and
Yeah.
I felt so fucking strong. Like I felt so good. So, yeah, I kind of forgot about Veigar honestly a little bit. I actually think he's solid. Is he top of A? Do I feel comfortable with him being in the same power level as a Talia? Yeah, honestly, about that Talia nurse, yeah. Same power level as the Isol and Anivia, yeah. I can see that.
I think he's a tier higher than these guys here.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, he's good. I played some Veigar games. You guys might just see a Veigar unranked to master in the near future. Maybe, maybe yes, maybe no. Who knows? He's good, guys. He's really good. Great. We got another one right here. Quin, man, you have no idea. There's so many people in the comments begging for Quin to get covered. And there's just people that think Quin is a legitimate mid laner. And maybe that's the case in lower ranks, but I don't fucking see this champion, dude. Where's this champ being played on mid lane? Huh? Where is it? Silver? Not in silver. Not in gold. Not in platinum. Not in emerald. It's nowhere, dude. Master Plus, she has the highest win rate. The highest pick rate, actually. So maybe all of our viewers are master tier. That might be the case.
And you know what's fascinating?
Yeah.
Just to say, I think it makes sense that Master would be the highest pick rate because I don't think it's possible to get higher than Master playing Quin mid every game, right? Unless you're really gimmicky with it, right? Like I just think that I guess.
Yeah, it's probably Phantasm, dude. It's these Akshan OTPs that pick this shit.
There's so few total challenger games. That's why the pick rate.
Yeah, correct.
But like the way I see Quin is that she's a very gimmicky champ. And then we covered this last time I covered Quin. It's like I don't think she's necessarily a bad mid laner, like because she abused solo queue mid lane really well, right? And so what I mean by that is that you can skip waves easily with the shams. So you don't have to worry about wave clear. You can tempo reset whenever you want. You can one shot the wave if you have to. You can skip playing side waves in the mid game to gank, right? You can basically be at 2 spots at once. That's what makes her a somewhat good champion in higher elo, right? But I don't think she's a good mid laner, right? She doesn't have good trading. She doesn't have good wave management. She doesn't have good skirmishing early game unless you're first. So I don't think she's a good mid lane champion, like mid laner, but she's good at abusing mid lane, like at cheating mid lane fundamentals to allow you to win games. I think is the best way to describe her.
Yeah. So if we would rate her, right, I would low-key rate her like somewhere low A, high B.
I think so too. Yeah.
Somewhere in this area, she's decent.
Yeah.
There's just matchups that she just can't really deal with. In the likes of the S tier matchups, just fucking do that to her every game.
You're not playing Ryze, you're not playing even Bell. I don't think you're playing the
Victor,
game.
Ori, Yasuo.
Is that even? You're just not doing anything.
Nah. So she has a top matchup, but she can play the game. I would say low A, high B. That's where I would put her. But we're not going to do it because she's not a mid laner. Now, we have another question. Sion and Garen. I think that these two champions are also functional on mid lane. These champs can play mid lane. They're fine, but they're not mid laners, guys. That's the thing I want you to understand. They don't really interact with mid lane fundamentals. They go D-shield second wind. They tank the shit out of everyone because mid lane champions have been nerfed too much, Riot Games, right? They can just stand there, tank the shit out of everything, and they just one-shot the wave. So, of course, there's some tougher matchups like the Ryze, but I played like Victor into Sion, and I just can't hit him. Yeah, I just can't hit him. Literally can't hit him.
Yep.
I even played Syndra into Sion a few times, and I cannot kill him. Impossible. It's free stack simulator, but I cannot kill him. It's actually not possible. And same as Garen, it's just so cheese in a way. So these champs are functional, totally functional mid laners. I would say B tier champions, very functional, but not mid laners, guys.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add is that if we add these champs to the tier list is going to have like the whole roster. Because then we can add Briar mid, we can add like, fucking Maokai mid, like anything that's a tank that, that sits there and just minimizes lane. Like they're Renekton mid, like all these champs, like you said, Zac mid, all these champs are functional, but they don't play like mid laners, right? You play there to sit there, one shot the wave, tank all damage, right? and then you play side lane, right? It's like that's not mid lane, right? It's just you can function there. So just keep that in mind. And I think B tier is perfect because it makes sense. You're just average. You just sit there, get to your, both players handshake, and then you play skirmishes in mid game and you see what happens.
So boring. So boring, actually. Okay, Ambessa, I think, is a champion that we did make a bit of an argument about that she could be a mid laner in the past. I think in hindsight, we did remove her from the tier list because in the end, she is a top laner and a jungler, guys, not a mid laner. But she is viable. And I think she's also quite strong. Have you played a little bit, seen a little bit of her?
I do actually still play. I do still play her.
You still play her?
So I think she's not bad in mid as a cat. Like either if you just want to one shot the wave and move the place, or as a counter pick in melee. So I always tell this story, but Cat Evolved, everyone knows he's an extremely good cat player, probably the best cat player in the world. He goes to Korea as always high challenger. Every time I play against him, I go Ambessa. And I put my points in Q, take electrocute, takes what's it called? Sudden impact, shield bash. I W on top of myself when he jumps in. I do 60% of his HP. He's stuck under turret the whole game, and then I win the game. Right? And this happens every time I play against him. Same thing against Kiana. So Ambessa, because she's a bruiser, does really, really well into assassins. So I think she's better than a C tier champ because you could play against mages. But I personally only pick her against these melee like these niche assassin melee mids, like the Talons and Cats and Kianas, and they can't play the game. It's just almost auto win because you could rush the armor boots as well, or the MR boots, and GG. Eclipse plus armor boots, you're not playing against an Ambessa.
Yeah.
So I think she's quite effective. She's hard as well, like very, very, very hard.
I think she's even 80, dude. I think she could be slotting in right here.
Even S tier, honestly, man.
S tier even?
I think she's really good. Like against mages, you can max E and play the game. Just I don't know why you'd play her over another champ, but like she's playable. I guess he's hard. I guess he's really hard matchups, and then against the melees you just destroy. So
yeah, very interesting champion.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, we love Vex, dude. Our favorite D tier. Oh no, Wei is our favorite D tier inhabitant, but Vex is our second favorite D tier inhabitant here.
That's the crowd's favorite. They always talk about Vex.
So I'm gonna call out a few people, right? Also from the comments from the previous section.
Yeah.
There is genuine confusion in the comment section. Why Vex is fucking D tier in high elo. And people just don't see it. And I understand that because picture this, you're a Yasuo player. Gold. All right, we know what Yasuo players in gold look like, okay? That's just one mode, and that's I'm diving the fuck out of the enemy lane. Just go in. Of course, if you're playing against Vex, you think it's the strongest champion in the game because it completely counters your playstyle. But the truth is, guys, that's a you problem and not a Vex problem, okay? I'm going to point it out here. As a dear friend and coach, I'm going to say, step up your game, boys. If you're struggling versus Vex, on some champs, I understand. There's this one item that is so good versus her, and that's called the Null Magic Mantle. Ever heard of that one? The Null Magic Mantle is a great item that completely counters Vex kit. Why does it do that? She has long cooldowns, okay? Very long cooldowns. And she has no HP damage or percentage damage in her kit, right? So she's a burst-oriented mage, a bit like LeBlanc, but then a little bit less good than LeBlanc. And if you can deny her burst, it's very hard for her to function. Yes, she has a lot of wave clear. Yes, she can shovel move. Yes, in lower ranks, guys, in lower ranks, she's a lot more functional. Like I said, we put her in A tier in Emerald and below. She's extremely functional. But in high elo, this champ's not functional because everyone understands how her passive works. It's very linear. Everyone understands that Null Magic Mantle is the ultimate counter to a champion like Vex. She'd always lose a side because of that reason, unless in very niche matchups. Now, she is D tier because I think if you're good, you understand how to play versus Vex, even in the tougher matchups. Of course, there is tougher matchups. If you're a Yasuo player, of course you're going to less enjoy playing versus Vex.
Yep.
If you're an Echo or Fizz player, of course it's less fun as playing into a Zinra that you can just one-shot, you know? But that doesn't necessarily mean that Vex is going to be more impactful as you throughout the entirety rest of the game if you understand the game playing against it. That's my monologue. Anything you want to add to Vex?
Yeah, I might add a little bit myself.
Yeah, so bring it on.
So there's something we always talk about, but Vex, remember, guys, what's her design? She's designed to defeat dash champions, right? That's the point of her kit. So what you have to remember is that the higher elo you go, the more people are going to understand how the enemy champion wants to play. So let's just take 2 examples. Let's take a Grandmaster Yasuo player and a Gold Yasuo player. Let's keep the Yasuo analogy. A Gold Yasuo is going to have a vague idea of how Vex works. But if I were to tell them, okay, ask them, like, what do you want to do as Vex in this particular moment? When is she strong? When is she weak? How fast does she sack her passive? When can you trade? They're going to have absolutely no fucking idea, right? But then I ask a GM Yasuo, and they're going to be like, okay, but what I need to do is never press my E, play for the wave clear because she's going to have limited wave clear, use my wind wall to avoid her E fear, right? And one-shot the wave, buy no magic mantle, and keep her pinned under turret, right? And then what's the point of playing Vex now? You're just stuck under your tower, right? Maybe you have a good first 5 levels, and that's it. So that's the first thing. It's like, she's designed to defeat dash champions, but the higher elo you get, the better the players are at not using their dashes to allow Vex to play the game. And then now her kit is cooked, right? Because you're basically trading Yasuo's dash for Vex's damage output, and then you're just useless. And then the second thing I'll add is that assassin champions need a few things, right? Either they need good access to the backline, they need good damage scaling, right? Or they need some sort of way to play front to back. So let's take Ahri, for example. Ahri's got plenty of tools to play front to back with her charm. She's got very easy backline target access if she needs to, right? And the trade-off is she doesn't have good damage scaling, but she has the other two. Vex doesn't have any of them. Her backline access sucks in high elo because you're going to have good vision for her. It's going to be hard for her to R onto the back, just directly get an R onto a carry, right? Her damage scaling sucks, as Tim was saying. No percentage scaling, no percentage magic pen like Annie gets, right? And yeah, she just doesn't have good ways to get her damage out there. And so the problem with Vex is it can be fixed with numbers, but her design is flawed. She doesn't do what she's designed to do. She doesn't counter the champion she's supposed to counter, and she doesn't do assassin-like things. And this is an example I always give, just to end things off. Loki, who is rank 1 in Korea, who came to NA, got rank 1 in NA, and played on C9, you know what build he did on Vex? Phase Rush, Blackfire Torch, Cosmic Drive. That should tell you exactly what the problems are with Vex. He's playing her like a fucking control mage. Because her kit as an assassin doesn't function in high yield. So
how would you fix her?
That's my thing.
Since Riot's listening, the stage is yours, dude.
Give her the Annie treatment. So she needs a way to improve her damage as the game goes on, so she's not reliant on killing dash champions or getting on the backline. So give her a percentage magic pen on her R, like Annie, right? Give her higher AP ratios and lower base damage. If you do those things, she can become playable, because now this opens up avenues where if it's a game where it's hard to get backline access, you can build in a way that will allow you to mow the front line, put pressure on the front line to cause them to disperse out. So now you can actually get your R in their backline. That's what I would do to change Vex to make her viable.
How about her passive? Because that's kind of the unique part of her kit, right?
That is, yes.
What would you do there? Would you keep it the way it is? Because I would personally see if I could make her USP a bit better.
I would give her a different passive and then give that passive on a skill shot. Is what I would do.
Passive a skill shot?
So what I would do, what I mean by that is I would make it so her W, for example, or her Q always gets the fear no matter what if you land it, rather than having to wait for your passive, and then give her a different passive, right? Make it more skill based. Not so reliant on dash. So it's still anti-dash, because when you fear, it cancels the dash and pushes them back. But then it's not just, okay, you counter dashes, or you don't counter dashes, right? Make it more of a skill shot. Make it something you actually have to land, because a melee champion is going to be easier to land a skill shot against them. So it's naturally already going to be better against melee champions. And then make her passive a real fucking passive against players who know what they're doing against her. That's what I would do. Yeah,
so what is the true problematic part of Vex's kit? Because I think the Q and the E, they're pretty alright. I think the W is really strange in her kit. And I think it doesn't really synergize with the... Of course, it synergizes with the R, but it synergizes less with the E and with the Q, because it's so short range and you want to use E plus Q from long range. But then the passive is also quite interesting and how it stacks up. If I would change Vex, I would probably change something in her W, but I would really want to... Look, I'm not a fucking champ desire, okay? I'm not, so don't take my word for it. But I would see if I could do something that would make her better into melees, into the likes of Yasuo. How can we make Yasuo players ban Vex every single game? Would be my question. Then we give her a niche, and I think I like champs with niches. For example, I like Lissandra. Even though Lissandra was fucking dog shit, I think the idea of the champion is great. And so I also really like the likes of Kassadin, for example. And you know how fucking hype it is when Chovy picks Kassadin in Worlds? That's the shit we want to see. We found a good Kassadin angle. Great. Let's see if we can pull it off. That's the shit I like to see. But, you know, I'm partially a viewer as well. So that's how I would do it.
So basically what needs to happen is a spell in her kit needs to be more frustrating for high elo players, right? That's what needs to happen.
Right.
Her kit
harder to do it.
To play against when you're good. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And she's also not blind pickable. It's just not possible. But that's okay. Yeah. That's fine. Not every champ has to be blind picked. Yep. So we're going to put her in dog shit tier.
Still think tier. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to shuffle a little bit in the top echelons of the tiers here. And I want to make a new bold statement because I think that thinking about it, I think the blue man is back on top again.
Yeah, I think Ryze is the best mid on the patch. Yeah.
Now, why? Okay, because Ryze went from top tier mid to suddenly dropping a little bit, and now he's back up on top tier mid. It's very simple, guys. He got nerfed, so he got shifted away from his position. Then all the other mid laners got nerfed, so he's back up in top again. Right, right games?
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Faker and Ryze. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think he's even in first stand, but still, like they always gotta buff Ryze and Azir and make sure they're picked.
Yeah, look, Ryze is just really problematic, right? Like if you see a good pro player on this champion, you see how devastating it is. This champ is so devastating in the right hands. It does so much mean stuff. The amount of control that you have is crazy. But it's hard. This champ is so hard. You need hundreds and hundreds of games, guys. Up there. I think that Ahri is up there. I played a lot of Aurora because you were so adamant about Aurora being up here, right? So I had to test her. What I just found out is that I was just building her wrong, actually. I was just building her like an idiot, going a mana item with mana flow band. It's just sick. So if you don't go mana item, but you either go Liandry's or you go the Storm Surge.
Or Storm Surge.
Or Protobelt, you just deal so much damage. Like, holy moly.
Yep.
Fuck, dude.
Yep. Because mana items, you're wasting gold on stats that'll give you nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem with mana items. So her being on the skip one is very OP.
Correct. So Aurora's good, guys. Hard. So hard, but good.
Yep.
I think that the top 5 is just still the same, though. I think Akali is there.
I will say this is a testament to how weak the mid lane champ pool is right now. The fact Akali and Akshan are S+, that's pretty wild to me, honestly. Like,
it's true.
The mid pool has been just constantly reduced. I feel like recently.
The fact that Akali is here, like, of course the Gunblade helped her, right? But the fact that there's no laners anymore that just break her, right? There's just. I think literally Aurora and Ryze are like the only champs that break her at the moment.
Yeah.
If you don't play any of these champs, even Ahri doesn't break Akali anymore, you know?
Nope.
Ori doesn't break her anymore with the Q cooldown. Syndra doesn't break.
Yeah,
Victor doesn't break.
A tier, like niche counter pick champ. Like Galio can play against her and
we banned that shit.
Jace. Like these are like the champs that can play against the quality.
Yeah, look, I think that Kassadin isn't even that good, by the way, versus Akali.
Fascinating.
Nah, I especially with the Gunblade build, I think Akali.
You have a lot of physical damage, right?
You got quite a bit of physical damage, but also the slow of the Gunblade really helps versus the casting.
Chase him down, actually.
Chase him down. If he ults in, it's very easy to land your E on top of him, and then you just have raw damage that just kind of beats him all the way until 3 items. That's when he starts winning. So the window is so large. So if you're an Akali player, you're fucking smiling this patch, okay? What you need to do is you need to ban Galio and you just lock it blind and you're going to have great success. Because these Aurora players in your elo and the Ryze players in your elo are not going to be good enough to punish you. You will win. Akali is money at the moment. It's elo, okay? If you're a good Akali player, watch out. Let's take a look. Mel. Oh yeah, I've also been playing a bit of Mel.
What do you think of her?
Yeah, I think she's actually pretty fucking good. This champ deals some crazy damage.
Good.
Yeah,
the
man.
Damage is ridiculous.
I've been landing E, Q, and R and just die.
Yep.
Yeah, just dead.
It's insane.
It's crazy. So she's up there. Let's see what the stats are saying.
I think she's for how like how vulnerable a champ she is. It's not awful. Right? Like if you go to
42%. What the fuck?
Has there even been a champ that's lower than that before? Smolder mid was like the only thing I saw was lower. But like that champ is supposed to be mid. He's even lower than Smolder mid. That's
crazy, dude. That's bad. That's next level bad. But yeah, you've been playing more Mel than me, I think. So you still stand by her being A?
Yeah. I stand by her being A. Yeah.
Solid A?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Final champ I want to mention, Zoe. I think Zoe might potentially be S+.
Yeah.
Because
I was actually thinking that too.
Because I've been playing against a few Zoes, and I played my good old champions, right? And they didn't feel good old into Zoe as much as before. I felt weaker, and I felt Zoe was more oppressive than before. Also because Zoe has been heavily loving all the mid lane nerfs because she's been unscathed. And now you got the likes of Orianna, which was not an easy matchup for Zoe, getting good at. So I think Zoe is really, really happy. Do we want to remove one of these champs from the S+ tier to keep it nice and 5? Or do we really think that these champs are...
I think we should have 5. Like,
yeah.
It's Akshan or calling for me. You can decide. I'm not really sure. Like Akshan is he's good, just not kind of niche, I feel like. Just it's hard to I don't know.
Why are Akali players going Conqueror? Interesting. I don't think Conqueror is that good on her. It's a tricky one. One.
No, we put Ahri down to
No. We're not putting Ahri down.
Yeah.
I think Ahri is still good. It's hard.
It's hard between Zoe and Akshan, I feel like. You can make an argument for either one.
Yeah, I think Zoe's good as fuck right now.
I think so too. Especially, again, every other champ gets nerfs, and Zoe got buffed. Lane-oriented champ.
The problem with these two champs is that they're OTP champs, both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so it's so hard to rate them and say this one's better than the other, because it's just the OTP fucking the other OTP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? We're going to keep them both in S tier for this time, guys. And we will make a decision in the next patch. In the next patch, we're going to move one of them down. And we're going to specifically look at these two champions, see which one we find more annoying and strong in the next 2 weeks of gameplay.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Now, anything else you want to change about this tier list here?
I'm pretty happy with it. I think it makes sense.
Pretty gorgeous, huh?
Yeah. It's funny if you go back to Analytics. I think my entire champ pool of champs I mained are all like completely trash. Azir is like bottom of D tier. Hui's bottom of D tier. Yogi is bottom of D tier.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You hear that, RIOT Games?
If I play these champs and I can still be challenger, guys, you guys have no excuse. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
It's mid lane buff time, RIOT Games. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate all your efforts. And as a final thing before we end off this beautiful tier list, we got an amazing tournament starting next week, First Stand. Now, of course, we know who the favorites are in regards to who's going to win. Gen G. But more or less, if you would say the top 3 competitive champions that are going to be picked on mid lane. Ryze number 1. What else do we got?
Azir.
You think Azir is still going to be...
Yep.
Yeah, with the 42% win rate, Azir is going to be a high presence.
Yep. I promise. I promise. That shit's all being picked and banned every game. Don't you worry about that. Like, only Gen G. I think Gen G is the only team who said they don't like Azir, if I remember.
Yeah, Shovi said he doesn't think it's good.
Yeah.
What I'm going to check is the EMEA Masters Winter has been playing. So I want to do a bit of checking in the pick bands here. What has been cooking up? Yeah, Ryze, Ahri, Azir. That's what I thought. I think Ahri is going to be contested heavily.
Yeah, Ahri would be the other one.
Ahri, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is your top 3, guys. Ryze, Ahri, Azir.
I know it's boring. We're just looking at the thing, but that's just the reality, I think.
We could already know that beforehand, right? Pro play is predictable nowadays.
Yeah.
Yep, it's predictable nowadays. Where is the... Hey, they even picked Veigar. Look at that. Fuck yes. They even picked Veigar. Anyways, guys, that's the tier list for today. Like we said last time, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. We will get back to you like we did today. And I appreciate y'all's time for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will be back in 2 weeks. reflecting on first stand, and of course doing the new tier list for the new meta coming up. We're gonna hope for a little bit of a bigger patch with mid lane buffs this time. Let's talk about some champs that genuinely needs buffs. Change Wei, please, guys. Give Wei a little bit of a buff. And I think that we might want to look into... I want to see some Wei buffs. That's it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
That's it.
For mid specifically.
For mid specifically. Give me some Wei buffs, and then we'll see from there.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, guys. Thank you all for watching. See you guys in 2 weeks with a new tier list. Peace out.